All right.
Great.
Thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. We have my dear friend, Emerald Ambassador Aubri Guerin, and she
Woo.
is, you guys, she's this little teeny tiny spitfire. She's full of energy. She's so stinking cute. We were at Jewel training together in Scottsdale, and I just had such a blast getting to know her and just hearing about the amazing things she's doing. She was recognized on stage multiple times at convention. She earned that $2,000 check. That was like the top prize, but she also was a top 10 finisher for new preferred customers and a top 10 finisher in overall PV. Jaw drop. That's huge. That's absolutely amazing. So she has some kind of different things that she does to keep her funnel filled with potentials and getting them signed up and using our products. So I'm super excited to hear from you, Aubri. And like I said earlier, if you just hopped on, she has been in full preparation mode for a lovely hurricane. So we are so blessed to have her take time out of her evening to come chat with us and share some of her secrets. So with that, I'll let you take it away, dear.
Yay. Hi, guys. Like she said, I get to lead an Emerald team. And I want to start by saying that you all are very lucky because Jacqueline is incredible. And she is one of my favorite diamonds because she does not think she's too good for anybody. She will talk to anybody, and she just is very friendly and kind and loving. And so I know that that is a huge part of why she's successful and something y'all can really be proud of, to have a leader that's the kind of person that we all can look up to and want to be like. So yay for y'all. Jacqueline's awesome. And I remember that I followed her posts for a long time because I needed some help with blue posting because I am not blue. I like the color blue, but I am not a blue person. I'm all the other colors, but not very much blue, except for the liking to talk. So I'm going to try to narrow this down a little bit, but basically about, I guess, Leaders Retreat last year. I love analogies and I love metaphors, and that's how I like to talk. That's how I like to teach, because I just feel like when you can use a metaphor, people are like, oh, I get it now. Okay, so I was like, I need a metaphor for my process because I want my team to do what needs to be done to be successful. And I'm like, I need them working. I want them doing things, but I want them to understand what they need to do. So Vicki and I sat out in the really big, pretty chairs at the Gaylord late one night. I'm like, what is it that's like this never-ending process? Because it's not like a recipe. A recipe is you put this in, then you finish putting that in, then you put something else in. Now, my recipe is take box, put in microwave, push button. But, other people have recipes, and they put this ingredient in, they move on to the next ingredient, move on to the next ingredient. But my process and our process isn't really like that. It's not a do step one, then move to step two. It's a do step one, keep doing step one while you move to step two, while you keep doing step one, keep doing step two, move to step three, keep doing step three. It's like some kind of never-ending spinning plates process. And so I said, what is it that mostly women, because we're mostly women, can understand it's a never-ending process? And I thought, laundry. Women can understand that laundry is a never-ending process. And so I thought about it for my analogy. Let's just use socks, because my husband and I have this constant problem with socks. He never has enough socks. So in the sock process, you have purchase socks, have socks, purchase socks, put them in the drawer. Then you have, wear the socks, take them off. All right, the next step needs to be put them in the laundry basket, because if you don't put them in the laundry basket, then they're not going to make it to the washing machine, because the dog's going to carry them off, the child's going to use them for a toy, or they're going to get under the bed or something. But so they got to get in the laundry basket. The next step is wash the socks. You got to wash the socks. I mean, we'll get to that. Then you have to dry the socks. Then you have to put the socks back in the drawer. A lot of times they don't get back in the drawer, and then my husband's like, where are my socks? And I'm like, can you walk across the hall to the laundry room and get your socks? But so we understand that you can't just say, well, washing socks is not my favorite part of the process, so I'm just not going to wash them anymore. I'm going to focus on putting them in the laundry basket because it's kind of fun. I get to shoot them like a basketball. And I'm going to focus on drying them, but I'm just not going to wash them. Well, that's stupid. Then you'd be drying dirty socks, which is not useful. Like I said, if you say, well, I like washing and I like drying and folding, but I really don't like putting them in the laundry basket. Well, eventually, if you don't put any socks in the laundry basket in my house, they're all going to have holes in them, or they're going to disappear and you're going to have no socks. So my point here is you have to keep doing all those parts in the process. Now, you don't have to do every part in that process every single day, but in my house, my husband wore enough clothes that I had to wash almost every day before we had kids. So in my house, you have to wash, you have to do all those parts a lot, but you can't just stop doing one of them and say, well, for a whole month, all I'm going to do is wash socks. I'm not going to do anything else. I'm not going to dry them. I'm not going to put them in the laundry, but I'm just going to wash. You see how stupid that is. But a lot of us try to do that with our Plexus business, okay? We say, well, I have no one to, I don't have anybody joining me. And I would figure out that, well, they haven't added any new friends in forever. Or they'd say, well, nobody wants to buy from me. Nobody wants to, I don't have anybody to follow up with. Well, they haven't been doing the part of the process that gives them the people to follow up with. So, taking my analogy, there are about 6 steps in the process, and I don't have them written down, so I'm not sure if it's 5 or 6. We'll see how many steps I come up with. But the first step, the most important step in this process, just like you got to buy new socks, you have to be adding new friends. Now, I'm a big Facebooker, have not made the jump to Insta yet. I have an Instagram. I've been posting, but I don't post Plexus. So I'm going to discuss Facebook, but you can use these same tips with Instagram. It's very similar. Whatever social media network you're using, you have to be adding friends to your network. You have to always be adding new friends to your network. If you quit adding new friends, then the rest of the process is going to start dwindling down. You're going to have nothing. So there are 2 main ways to add friends, online and in person. Online, one of the best ways to add friends on Facebook is Facebook groups. And here's the caveat with Facebook groups. When I first joined back in 2015, I thought you join a group and then you look for ways to tell people that Plexus is the answer. Well, that usually gets you kicked out of the group. And that's not very helpful, especially if you're dumb and you join groups like with breastfeeding moms and crunchy moms and people that are like, ah! Anyway, don't do that. So here's the tip for groups. Join groups and be you. Join groups and be fun and friendly and get to know people and then add them as friends on Facebook. There's some great trainings on that I can share. There's really no reason for me to go into it, but one of the best ways to add friends on Facebook is through groups. One of the best ways I've found is using local groups and then creating, like Julie Adams, I think it was Julie Adams that created a plank squat challenge. That has been absolutely fantastic for me. I just posted that I was going to do a plank squat challenge in one of my local groups. I had hundreds of people say they wanted to do it. Now, this is a good idea too because those people are at least relatively interested in being healthier, which is a good audience for Plexus people, for potentials. So a plank squat challenge is an amazing thing, and it doesn't have to be incredibly complicated. You just post a graphic, make sure it's easy to read. Don't pick weird fonts that kind of look like they're saying something else. Pick very clear, bright colors. Just say, I'm doing this group because I need to be held accountable. Who wants to do this with me? My tips, have them send you a friend request. And then once they send you a friend request, accept their friend request, add them to the group, send them a message telling them that you've added them to the group and give them the link. I would say make it a private group because number 1, you don't want creepy people getting in there. And number 2, if it's a private group, you have to be friends to be able to add them. And the point is to get more friends. Then once you've created the group, post a daily exercise. You can get really creative and cute. I can add Jacqueline to my group and she can see some months I'm really cute. I had a black tie challenge, I had a little black dress challenge, and we had a cute little black dress graphic every day, and they were usually different. This month I'm not as cute, but she can go copy all my posts and choose everything that she wants from it. But anyway, so that is one really good way to add friends to your network. That is basically how I got the majority of the people I ended up signing in the spring to win those awards. I would like to add that you can be a hot mess and still win those awards, because I was the person on stage next to all these fabulous people that was holding my hands like this because I was not holding my trophy or my plaque or whatever the heck it was, because I missed the point that we were going on stage. And so I'm running up to the stage, and you can see pictures of me. Everybody else is holding their little glass thing, and I'm just like, this is me, not holding anything. So, because I was talking to my team and I didn't notice that we were loading the stage. So anyway, you don't have to, it's hilarious because I spent all this time trying to figure out what to wear to go on stage. And then I got up there and I don't even have my things. I'm like, Aubri, this shows you that it is not about you. And who cares what you're wearing? It's not about you, because you're such a mess that you didn't even get up there with your little glass things that you're supposed to be holding. So anyway, that was adding friends on Facebook. I think you can do similar things on Instagram, but I don't do Instagram very well, so you'd have to talk to some Instagram experts. All right, the other thing you can do, I mean, if you're just in like I have a team member who's in a running group, and she makes friends, and she'll ask questions, and when people respond, she'll message them and she'll friend them and ask them other questions, and just be you, just be real. The other thing you can do is add friends in person, and this applies to friends you add in person and friends you add on Facebook. The goal here is to not talk about Plexus right away, but to just be yourself and try to find a way to add value. I think the core of my being and the way I do life is that it is important to add value to others. And as a people pleaser, maybe I do this to make myself feel good. So it's not necessarily even selfless. Like, I don't know, like I just like people to like me. So I want them to like me. So I give them things of value. But if you are, so an example of a way to give value, if you are at the park and you meet a mom and y'all are chatting in between, keeping your child from falling off the jungle gym. And the child's safe for 2 seconds, and you talk to them and you realize they're new to the area. Well, offer to add, tell them you'll add them on Facebook and put them in some of your favorite mommy play groups. That is a simple way to add value. And so they're thinking, wow, she's a nice person. Well, yes, you are a nice person, but cha-ching, you just added them on Facebook, and now they're going to see your posts. But you want it to be a My Big Fat Greek Wedding kind of thing, where they don't realize that you're sharing Plexus with them. They think it's their idea, that they're reading your post, they're watching your post, they come to you. Then you're not seen as pushy and obnoxious. If you are focused on adding value to them, and you come up with a way to add value to everyone you meet, whether by offering them something or encouraging them or giving them some type of blessing or whatever, then you're going to be seen as a person who cares, and that's going to make them want to listen to you. Okay, so in this number 1 phase, in step 1, you do not want to mention Plexus unless it just comes up and you just have to. Like, I'm not going to say that if you sit there and they're like, oh my goodness, I have migraines, do you know anything that could help? Nope, I don't know anything. I don't know what you're talking about. Migraines? No, I mean, not like that, but just don't be puking Plexus. This is not the time to talk about Plexus. This is the time to make relationships and add value. Then step number 2, this is very, very, very important. Step number 2 is build those relationships. Okay, you've added friends. Now you want to build those relationships. There are 3 really good ways to build those relationships. Number 1 is personal messages. Like, just pick some people and be messaging them, get to know them better, send them questions, comments, ideas, just talk to each other. Number 2, create a drip list is what we call it on Facebook. It's a friends list. You have to do it on a computer. You go to friends, and then you click friend lists, and you can select certain friends. They don't see this list, just you. And when you click on it, the people that you've put on it, it will show you only their Facebook feeds. So you can go through and just comment on those people, because you want to build those relationships. You want them to see what you're posting on Facebook, because then they're going to get exposed to you and get exposed to Plexus. Okay, so that's the direct way. Now here's the other side of that. You need to be very, very particular and purposeful about what you're posting on your social media. So whether you're posting on Instagram or Facebook, it doesn't matter. You have to be very clear on what your brand is and post that. Okay, and I'm going to say something that you may have never thought of. When I first thought it in my head, I was like, is that sacrilegious? Wow. No, but I think that your personal posts are more important to your Plexus business success than your Plexus posts. When I first started, I stressed about having the best Plexus posts, and some of my posts were terrible, just really awful, spammy, salesy. Some of them still are because I get lazy, but I think your personal posts are way more important, and here's why. You're adding, if you want to be successful and be adding a lot of new people, you are adding people that have no clue who you are, okay? If you do a plank squat challenge and you add 100 friends, they don't know you. They're not going to buy health supplements from somebody they don't know. So you have to get them to know, love, and trust you. You're going to do that through your personal posts. They're going to ignore your Plexus posts probably, especially if they can tell that they're salesy. But they're going to get to know you and like you and relate to you through your personal posts. So you want to do educational posts. You want to do things that you're passionate about. Educate them, inform them. You want to do inspirational posts. Everybody loves some good inspirational posts. You want to do funny stuff. And you just want to be authentic and genuine. All of my personal posts are public, so you're welcome to go look at them. I am not an expert, but I have been working on this for 2 years. And so I really do think that I have a handle on my brand. I have, and I don't plan it out like I'm going to post about this part of my brand today. And I am not that organized. I am way too ADHD. But overall, I think you get the idea that I'm an autism mama. I am passionate about mindset and people having a higher perspective, people having a better perspective. And I am, I love my kids and they're crazy and I am a mess. I can't cook, but that's okay because I love myself and I'm authentic and it's all right. So, but you really want to be careful that you are posting in line with your brand and that you are letting people see who you are. If you are just posting generic stuff, like don't just be slapping a quote up there. That's not good enough. If you're going to post a quote, I want you to say something that you feel about that quote. If you're, and then on your Plexus posts, then post really good testimonies. But on your personal posts, I would say really try to let people see who you are. Now, you don't want people thinking that you're just a hot mess express all the time. I mean, you don't want to look like a train wreck, but you also don't want to look perfect because they're going to know that's not realistic and they won't relate to you. And here's the best tip for number 2 for getting people, building those relationships, getting them to know, love, and trust you. Live videos. Lots and lots and lots of live videos. And Jacqueline's in Bob's Leadership Academy, and she's gotten all the tips for live videos. But y'all, live videos are huge because y'all can read some of my posts, but it's nothing like getting to hear me talk and see what kind of person I am. Because unless I'm like some super salesy, obnoxious actress, you're going to kind of see who I am through the way I talk, through the stories I tell, through the things I say. And that is how people are going to quickly relate to you. And once you say something they can relate to, then they're going to trust you. That's just human nature. So live videos, I would say at least one a week. And if you're terrified, do it scared. Bob talks about his first live videos. He only had like 5 people. I mean, man, I had like 100. So I'm like, man. And they weren't that great. Most of the time I feel like I look ridiculous, but that's okay. Just keep doing it because if people see you and you'll start to figure out what you like to talk about and what's interesting to them. And if you don't know what to talk about, then reach out to Jacqueline because or your upline, whoever that is. I just see Jacqueline on my screen here. But I have people reach out to me, Aubri, I don't know what to talk about. And I've come up with all kinds of fun things for them to talk about. So just ask a friend, well, what should I talk about? What are you passionate about? Except for like politics and vaccines. We're not going to do that because you don't want something polarizing. Unless it's Jesus, because Jesus is okay. Because if you don't like Jesus, then we're going to have a problem anyway because you're going to hear about him all the time. Because I'm a minister's wife. And so you're stuck with Jesus. I mean, but not like discussions about whether or not you should have instrumental music or, what religion should you be or any of that, because you want to be positive and encouraging. You want to leave those discussions for not your Facebook platform. So number 1 was add friends. Number 2 is build those relationships. And number 3 is then you got to make connection about Plexus. Now, I usually do this via a magic message. So in step 3, once I've added new friends and once I've built relationships, then the next stage for those people that I've built relationships with is to send a magic message. And my magic message, because I'm half yellow, is basically, hey girl, hope you're doing well. So I know this is probably a really silly question because you live in Arkansas, but has anybody given you a sample of the new Plexus pink drink? It's been reformulated for hunger control. Raise hands. I do like emojis in my messages. And I would love for you to try it out. Would you like a sample? Would you like a sample? Now, see, since I'm half yellow, I don't like to message them and harass them without offering them something. You can rewrite that to just ask them if they've heard about Plexus. The true magic message was something like, you know, I'm sure you've seen me post about Plexus. Have you ever heard it? Have you ever tried it? Or something like that. I mean, it can be that simple. Basically, you just need to send a message and get the conversation going. Get that door open. Out of those, I want to be realistic with you here. I want to set realistic expectations. I realized one of my team members was like completely unrealistic. If I send 10 of those a day, I might get 2 at the most on a good day that say, yes, send me a sample. And some of those might be people that I've messaged 16 times before since I joined, and they finally decided to try a sample today. So that's one of the reasons I send so many messages. One of the reasons I add so many friends, because it's a numbers game. You have to send a lot of messages to get a few answers. So, you know, if you're sending 50 a week, I probably get 8 to 10, maybe, if I send 50 messages in a week. So, but you want to do something to start that conversation about Plexus. Now, I do a combination of people that message me about my posts or comment on my posts and people that I, you know, send magic messages out to, because I want to make sure that I always have a lot of people coming into my funnel to be following up with. So what I do is I try to post, speaking about the Plexus post, try to post really good testimonies that will apply to a lot of people. And I make sure that my commenting group, because my team has commenting groups that basically we have about 8 people in a chat. And when we post, we tell them post it, and then they can go comment to boost engagement and get people to see that. But so I post a good post, and then I try to take out the word Plexus and put supplements so that they have to actually ask me. Not because at first that bothered me, because I'm like, I don't want to be fake. I don't want to hide what I'm doing, but I'm not hiding what I'm doing. I'm keeping people from seeing the word Plexus and going, oh, Plexus, I don't want to look at it. Because some people will do that. So if I take out the word and I just say supplements, people that know what I'm doing know what I'm talking about. People that don't have to ask me, and then I can control the conversation, and it won't be, well, my sister's dog's grandma took Plexus and said it was awful and sent her to the hospital, so I'm not listening to anything you have to say, because things like that happen. So anyway, but so when two things there. So sometimes I get people that reach out to me from my posts, from my testimonies. A lot of times after I've added some friends, I'll do a post of, I'm giving away a free sample, and tell them a little bit, like a couple of bullet points about Slim, and then they'll want to try it. So I let people comment, and then I'll send some free samples. And then what I try to do that I learned from Bob that's been very useful is once I get the, once they're interested, I send them the triplex video. I use the long version, and I tell them it's not long. It's only a minute and a half. It's just longer than the other version. I just say it's super short like me. Y'all can't all say that because you're not all super short like me, but I'm under 5 feet. So yeah, I can say that. But anyway, so I send the triplex long version and just ask them what they like. I have quit trying to explain. I don't explain what Plexus is anymore because Bob says you shouldn't, and because it's easier just to send a video. I just say, oh, it's this awesome drink that's really helped me. Here's a video. So I send the Slim HC video. I send the triplex video, send the Joyome video. I like the science of Joyome video. It's about 3 minutes, and it kind of pretty much covers everything that's awesome about Joyome. But I let the video do the talking, and I ask them what they thought about it. So that's kind of all in that connecting about Plexus step. That's step 3. Step 4 is follow-up. Now, I want to say right now, if you don't ever do step 3, then you can see that you don't have a lot of follow-up to do, okay? If you aren't, you don't have to call them cold messages, because cold messages sounds terrible, but if you aren't sending messages about Plexus, you're not going to have enough people to talk to. Most of you are not attraction marketing rock stars, because it takes a lot to be attraction marketing rock star. And if you're an attraction marketing rock star, you probably aren't sitting here listening to me talk on Zoom right now, because you'd probably be out there making a gazillion tons of money with all the people just messaging you all the time wanting to buy your products. So most of us do have to send some messages. And it's almost as ridiculous as saying, well, I don't like washing clothes, I'm just going to dry them. You can't do that. So you have to connect with people at Plexus, and you don't have to message them. You can go talk to them in the grocery store. I mean, like, everybody in Holly Springs is in the grocery store right now. I could talk to all kinds of people all day about Plexus, but they probably wouldn't care because they're preparing for a hurricane, so that's really not good timing. But you can go talk to them in person. But, you know, sending messages is a lot easier. So if you're scared to send messages, start with people you don't know very well, because you're not talking to them now anyway. And if they decide they hate you, then it's not really changing your life. So that's my tip if you're scared to send messages. But step number 3 was send some messages. Step number 4 is follow up. Now, a few things I want to tell you about follow up is, number 1, that's really the most important thing, because most people don't really follow up enough. And I would say that the jewels and the diamonds, I guess diamonds are jewels, but they're special jewels. We follow up. We follow up like crazy people, because we know we have to. I can go back and look at some of the people that I've signed, and I've probably followed up with them 18, 20, 30 times. I am sure there are people that I've followed up with 30 times. Does that mean that I've sent a message saying, hey girl, I want to try Plexus? Hey girl, what do you think about Plexus? I have not sent that 30 times, because they would probably shoot me and block me. I mean, I vary it. Sometimes it's just, hey, how are you? Like, sometimes it's personal. Sometimes it's a testimony. Sometimes it's, you want to try the new product. So vary your follow-up method. I tell my friend Meredith, she's very structured and a math person, and she doesn't, it's not really her approach. But I'm like, I just use the gut feeling approach. I look at the name, I look at the message, I'm like, feel like it's not a good time for another Plexus follow-up. Let's do a personal. And that's how I decide. Like, I don't have a 3 Plexus and then a personal. I don't have any kind of structure there. I just look at it and I go with my gut. And I do tell people, if your gut is too scared and it's being a little scaredy cat, then don't listen to your gut. Otherwise, you have intuition, use your gut. Just go with your gut. But you do have to follow up a lot. And one thing that's helped me is that whenever I mail samples, I put people on a list in my phone on an app I use called Errands. And then once they've tried the sample, I move them from the sample list to the funnel, and they stay on my funnel until they purchase. I used to say buy or die, but then one person did die, and I felt really, really awful, and I repented. And so now I say buy or get a restraining order. That's a lot better. But they stay on my follow-up list. And so when it's time for a sale or a special or an event, basically, if you've offered them a huge special and they haven't joined, then they really just need more information. Obviously, they don't know enough yet to realize the value. So, but you just keep following up, and they really will eventually join. When I look at the people that I've sent samples to, almost all of them eventually at least try a 7-day trial. So it really, really, really does work. And then step number 5. Oh, so we're going to do 6 steps. Yeah. Okay, step number 5 is closing. I am not going to teach you about closing, because Sarah Taylor did an incredible closing masterclass, and it says masterclass, but it's not long. Don't worry. It's only like 15 minutes, but it's called Bold Closing Strategies Masterclass with Sarah Taylor. I could not teach it any better than that. So you need to watch that. She will give you exact verbiage for how to close. And she goes through basically what I do. I mean, a lot of times I just message them that I'm having a special for the weekend, have 2 spots, do they want one? And I say I'm like JCPenney. I have my biggest sale of the year every weekend. So, I mean, I do sales on days that end in Y. So if I want you to join, and you don't know if you're a new customer and I'm signing you up, because I try to sign all my people up to avoid screw ups, because when I don't sign them up, they screw up. But they don't know that they get free shipping. You know, they don't know that's not a special. I mean, it's a special right now that they get free shipping. So, you know, so I'm not saying you have to give away the products. You know, I mean, if you're trying to win a big, huge shopping spree or something, you might give away a little more than you would normally. But, I mean, a special can be, I'm doing free shipping this weekend. A special can be, I'm doing $10 off for a new customer, something like that. So whatever you want to do. But that's step 5. That's closing. Watch the masterclass. And then step number 6. Okay, if you realize that we have spent 5 steps on getting them to join us, step number 6 is customer care. And you just spent 5 steps getting them to join you. Don't screw up customer care. Take it seriously. Now, if you have any yellow in you, then you may struggle with what I did in the beginning and for a long time. I didn't want to hear how they were doing, because if I heard that they weren't happy, then that would upset me and I'd be worried and I would be like, well, what am I going to say? How do I help you? And I had some crazy people that are like, Slim's making my throat feel like I have swords stabbing me all over. And I'm like, what the heck do I say to that? But number 1, HC has way less troubleshooting issues than XOS, and so does Joyome. So you don't have to be as nervous about troubleshooting anymore. And number 2, you just have to tell yourself, you spent 5 steps getting them to join you. You have to follow up with them on a regular basis and work with them. You know that some of them won't stick, because that's just life. Do you stick with everything that you do? Do you use every product you buy from Walmart? My closet says no. I do not use every product I buy from Walmart. I remember some of the Jules were talking about selling clothes that they bought on previous shopping sprees in places because they never wore them. So if you don't stick with everything that you do, you can't expect everyone else to stick with everything they do. So it's reasonable, set your expectations, but you do your part. Don't be scared to follow up. They probably just have a problem that can be solved with more water, less alcohol, extra protein, or consistent product usage. That covers almost every issue that they can have. You have to follow up. What I do to follow up is, again, I use that app called Errands, ERRANDS, and I create a specific task. Every time somebody joins, a customer or an ambassador, I create a task for them. And I put their name, and I put what they ordered and what their auto ship date is. And so, and then I set it to follow up, like I schedule it for 4 days, 5 days later. And then I set a repeat for anywhere from 3 days to a week, and it will repeat that task on that timetable. Now, that's based on how high maintenance I think they are. If it's a Joyome person, I'm probably going to set it to repeat once a week. If it's somebody that I think has major issues with gut health or just has major consistency issues, and I'm going to have to remind them and pretty much baby them to take their products, then it might be every 3 days. But what that does is ensure that I don't miss somebody. Now, some of the people on my team put it on a calendar, but I rarely sit down with my computer and my desk and my calendar. So I just put it in my phone. And so I pull that up that day and I'm like, okay, these are the people I need to check in on. And I shoot them a message, ask how they're doing. And every now and then I also throw in some personal follow-up, especially if a follow-up occurs on a Sunday, because, you know, I mean, like 3 days later, eventually is going to end up on a Sunday. Then I say, I like to use Sundays to pray for my customers. How can I pray for you today? They get so excited because people love to be asked if you can pray for them. And every now and then, you know, somebody might not be happy and just say, well, I'm sorry. If they have a problem with you praying for them, then they have more problems than you can solve, and they probably just need to go take their vital biome. But, you know, I mean, most people are happy to be asked if you can pray for them about something. So I kind of throw that in there too, and that helps me to make sure that I do some personal stuff. Like this week, I'm asking them what they're doing to prepare for the hurricane. And I found out one of my customers didn't get any water. And so I'm like, oh my goodness, girl, I have extra. Come get some of my water. I don't really have a ton of extra, but I can drink LaCroix. It'll be all right. We do have some extra depending on how long we're out of water. But anyway, so I just want you to realize that you spent 5 steps getting them. Make sure that you focus on keeping them. If they're an ambassador, same thing. I still want them to fall in love with their products and get used to their products in the first month. And so I'm still going to set them a task. But once they, you know, once we get to the end of that first month, I'm going to be saying, So what kind of results are you having? If they tell me they're having great results, and be like, oh my goodness, that's so exciting that you've lost 6 pounds. That's so exciting that your rosacea is going away. Have people started noticing? What are they saying? People want to talk about that. If people are noticing their positive changes, they want to talk about it. So then you tell them, and they tell you what people are saying, and then you can ask, so what are you saying? And then they might be saying something awesome, or they might be like, I'm just telling them it's this pink drink I'm drinking. Well, did you know that if they order, if 3 of them order, it'll cover your products? Do you want me to give you some words to use, or do you want me to tell you how they can order from you? And so you just kind of make it real casual, real simple. But I think that that's something that needs to be a part of our process, that once our customers start having good results, once our wholesalers start having good results, we start making sure they understand that they could turn those results into money. And even if they don't want to work a business, then they can at least turn those results into enough money to cover their products. And you are happy to do that for them, to help them with that. I mean, I always tell people, when those people, actually sometimes I make it funny, and I say, well, when people start coming to you and want to know why your face looks so awesome and why you keep getting carded, then you can send them to me and I'll let them order from me. Or you could keep them and you have a website and you can get paid. But I'll take your money if you don't want it. So anyway, so that's my 6 steps. And the key there is that you can't ever just decide you're not going to do any of them. And you can decide to do them in phases. Like you could say week 1 is add friends. Week 2 is really focus on relationships. Week 3 is really focus on connecting with new people and about Plexus. You can do that. But you have to make sure that within a given period of time, you're doing all of those things, or you're going to have one of those situations like some of my team members get where they're like, I have nobody to message. Well, because you haven't added any new friends in forever. You haven't been building any relationships. Or, if you're sending a ton of messages and nobody's responding, then you're not building relationships. Because you have to have at least some kind of relationship before people are going to respond when you're selling health supplements. It's not like a lipstick. I don't care if I have a relationship with somebody, if they want to sell me a lipstick. That's not going to impact my life in a large way, I mean, I know lipstick people and they have great businesses and all that, but it's not the same. You'll go buy a random lipstick or a 31 bag for somebody, but health supplements, you got to build a relationship. So anyway, I hope that was helpful. Do you have any questions? And Jacqueline, you're muted.
I clicked it and it didn't work. Did anybody have any questions? That was awesome. I took notes. I know Mila was in the car, so she'll probably want my notes. But any of you guys on that have any questions for Aubri?
I'm not making faces at you. There's banging upstairs, and I don't know why. And I have children. So.
Oh, no.
I have a husband up there, too. So.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Hey, I was going to ask, and I was kind of in the car and on the go, and so I hope you didn't answer this, and I just didn't hear it. But you said you send quite a few samples, and I was just curious to see what your follow-up message is with that.
Sure. Okay, so I am, like I said, I am not an incredibly structured person. I have a team member who's an attorney that's very structured, and she has I send this message on this day, and then I send this message after this many days. I don't do that. But I feel like what I do helps with my approach of being a little more laid back and them not feeling like I'm a pushy, obnoxious salesperson. So what I do is when somebody says that they want to try a sample, I put them on a list in my app for mail samples. Okay, because I just copy paste their address, then a day later, 2 days later, depending on my crazy schedule, I'll go mail the samples. Then I copy paste the list, the people's names from the sample to a follow-up samples task, and I put their name on there. Now, depending on what my life is like, I might not follow up for a week or 2. I don't always follow up 3 days later because I found that people don't actually just get it and be like, I'm going to try this pink drink. No, they almost have never tried it by the time I message them. So a lot of times, if I'm bored and I have a lot of time, I might send them a message and say, hey girl, did you try the sample? But a lot of times what I'll do is if we have an event coming up, I'll send them a message saying, hey, I don't know if you've tried the sample yet, but we have this event where you can learn more about what the pink drink does. Can I add you? And they're like, sure. So that's what I do a lot more. Or, hey, I don't know if you tried the sample yet, but we got a special going on this weekend, so you probably should. I assume that they don't. And then, but if I am wanting to know what they thought about the sample and I'm kind of focused on that, I'm not focused on other things, or we're not having an event, what I'll do is send them a message and ask them what they thought about the sample. They'll probably ignore me not because they hate me, but because they either lost the sample, they forgot about it, and they're going to do it tomorrow. So then they'll message me back tomorrow. Well, they won't. So that, in their mind, they're thinking, oh, I've got to try that. Dang, I'll have to go find it, and then I'll try it tomorrow, and then I'll message her. They don't respond. So then if I really want to know, then a couple of days later, I'll say, hey, a few of my samples have gotten lost. Did you receive yours? They will answer that because they feel that. But inevitably, they still won't have tried it. And so then what I tell them is, listen, you might be waiting to take it on a special day. It doesn't matter when you take it. It can be morning, it can be night. It doesn't have a stimulant. It's just to see what you think of the taste and how easy it is. So that's kind of to get them to actually take the sample. But I expect them to be lazy about it and not take them, because most of the time they don't. I've had people send me Rodanafil stuff before we sold Joyum, and it sat in my cabinet for forever, and I didn't try it because I didn't want to read the instructions, and I thought it'd be complicated. So if I do that, then I'm sure they do. So I've started trying to ask specific questions that I know they'll actually answer. And then what I do is, if they ever actually answer me about the sample, then I say, if they say, oh, it tasted good, I say, great, I've got a special right now. Would you like details? And then I give them whatever special I want to give them. And sometimes they say yes. A lot of times they're like, yeah, I might be interested in a few weeks. I'm like, okay, cool. And I don't stress about it, because it's not like I only have 5 people that are interested at any given time. I've been sending tons of messages. I got all these people in my funnel, so I'm not stressing if you're not interested right then. I just move on to somebody else and keep asking until I find somebody that's interested. And people are interested on a cycle, and so eventually I find somebody that's interested. And but I do think that most of the people I've sent samples to eventually have joined, but some of them, it could be 6 months. Some of the ones that finally decide to order, I'm like, well, the sample you tried is actually XOS, and now we're on a completely different one that's way better, so I'm sending you that one instead. But yeah, so samples are interesting, but the big thing is not to get stressed out about them and not to get all uptight. And I have people that are like, well, you're not going to try the sample, then you need to send it back. And I'm like, no, you really don't need to stress that much. And I have people that won't send samples because the people haven't ordered, and I would think that if you follow up enough, they're going to order eventually, because they're going to get tired talking to you. They're either going to block you or order, because eventually they've seen enough and they've learned enough that they realize that it can help them and that you're not giving up on them. And I have had people thank me for not giving up on them, because like I said, I don't just send Plexus follow-up messages. I send relationship messages. Sometimes if my gut's telling me I can't follow up anymore, then I go find their Facebook profile and just start commenting and liking things, because they know they've got a sample. I follow up forever. I do. I really do follow up forever. I get lots of crickets, and I follow up forever. I had one person that messaged me a few days ago. It was like, we've been really wanting to try Plexus. I'm like, that's great, because when I messaged you 3 months ago, you didn't answer at all. So I'm glad that you're wanting to try it, because you didn't tell me that 3 months ago. You just ignored me. But I try really hard not to red light myself. Jacqueline may have talked to y'all about this. In the beginning, I would red light myself. I would assume the worst. If somebody didn't respond, they're not interested. But with my kids, I can literally say that a lot of times I either respond in 2 seconds or like in never, because I could be getting ready to respond and my daughter could be swinging from a chandelier or turning on the oven and thinking that the gas stove is fun to play with. Or climbing and dancing. She likes to dance on tables. I hope that's not an indicator of a future career for her. But she is really cute, so she could do well. So I don't ever quit. Like, once they move from the follow-up samples, when they told me what they think about the sample, to the funnel list, they stay on the funnel list, which is basically my follow-up list, forever. Now, I might have tried for a few times, or 5 or 6 times, and they're just not interested. I get the vibe that this is not their time. Then I might not message them again for another 6 months, but they're staying on that list. I gave them a sample. I paid money to send them a sample. They're not leaving that list until they do something. And if you are always adding friends and always building relationships, then it will be okay that it takes some people months and months and months and months and months to decide to try it, because you've always got a steady flow of people, because you're always putting the work in to keep having the steady flow of people. And you don't have to stress about those 4 people that you're so frustrated with because they keep saying they're interested, but they won't do anything. Does that help? I'm not looking at the chat because I get distracted.
Yeah, no, good. I didn't see anything else. I didn't see anything further with that.
Does that help you guys with the questions? I don't want to be like a beauty pageant person and like not answer the questions.
No, I think that was perfect. Yep, Karen says perfect, thanks.
Yay!
Anybody else have a question? No?
Aw.
Yay. Okay, I'm gonna stop the recording.